Welcome to Enhance Impact. Today we're going to continue with our data cleaning exercise from our previous video on cleaning Airbnb data by automating that data cleaning, creating a function and a module for that data cleaning so we can reuse it on other data sets. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's begin. The steps that we're going to take today to modularize our code in the Jupyter Notebook is to create a folder. This first step is actually quite an important step. We need to create a folder, and the modules that we're going to use on our Jupyter Notebooks need to be in the same folder with the notebook, as well as the functions that we're going to create to clean our data. And so the modules have to be in the same notebook in order for them to actually function together or for it to work. So that's extremely important. So steps 1 and 2, we need to focus on those. Step 3, we're going to create a function from earlier data cleaning steps from the previous video, and I'll bring that Jupyter Notebook up and we'll step through that exercise. Number 4, we're going to save the data cleaning function as a .py file and load it back into our folder. And then number 5, we're going to go ahead and actually use our module. It'll be quick and easy, one-step data cleaning. Here's my Jupyter home screen. To begin, create your new folder. We do that by going to New, going down here and clicking on Folder. I've already created a folder for this exercise. It's called Airbnb. This is my folder here. Inside, I have the original data cleaning with Airbnb notebook, and this is what that looks like. So we have our general data cleaning steps. Now that we have our data cleaning with Airbnb notebook open, we're going to copy the data cleaning steps from this notebook and put it into a notepad. I want split screens. It just makes it easier to operate and work with. We have a split screen, so I can easily copy and paste. When we take a look at our original data, we had a few steps. What we're interested in is our first set of data cleaning steps. The first step for data cleaning was to drop the columns that had 100% missing value. Those were our license and neighborhood group columns. So I'm going to take this code, copy it, paste it in this notepad. Same here for this change to the data, which is when we convert our data types from integer data types for those IDs to object data types or to string data types. The data required us also to correct the date type mismatch. In our previous code, we had a format of %m, %d, and %y. We actually need to allow for the data we need to change that code and allow for the date time data to infer the date time, because what I noticed from several other data sets is that the date time format is not always consistent. And so it takes a little bit more time as if you actually know what the date time is. But if you're going to run this code on several different data sets, they may not all be in the same format, and trying to guess, which format to put them in. It's just easier to let the program infer what the date time format is actually is. So what we're going to do here is we're going to change our code a little bit from our original Airbnb data source. You see I'm here in Geeks for Geeks. I like going to their website to get different information. But this is one of the arguments in the pandas to date time syntax is infer date time, and that's important here. So what we're going to do here is go to our data frame here and change it. So instead of format equals to this, we're going to do infer date time format equals true. It usually defaults to false, but here we want it to be true. And so now, when we infer our date time for the last review column, we should get everything to be correct here for us. So here, okay. The next step that we completed was to fill in missing values for reviews per month. So that's that step. We had some feature engineering where we created number of bedrooms, bathrooms, beds, shared baths, and number of stars using a regular expression by parsing this information from the name column. So we're going to take this information here, copy it. I'm going to remove these two items. Okay, and so this also brings us to having to clean some of those new data fields that we extracted from the name column. And so what we're going to do is add these where we applied mean and 0 to input for null values for shared bathrooms and number of bathrooms. So now we have a code for that. We want to fill in missing number of bedrooms with the mean or average. We have that code snippet. Place that one here. We are also going to add the DF has star ratings, a feature engineered column that indicates true or false for a listing having a rating if the number of reviews is greater than 2. Greater than 2 is true, otherwise it's false. Okay, and we're going to say added a new has a star rating, has stars rating. Okay, so good. It's important to have like descriptions here. One of the things too I want to say to you here, I want to make this like very simple and very easy. So I'm going to take this code and just simply put it in a function and just get it to run. You can also take steps where if you notice that you have a group of things happening that are the same, like if you're creating new columns, you can have a function that simply says def create new features. One function where you're imputing values. We have several places where we're imputing the mean or like replacing our missing values with mean values with zeros. That can all be lumped together in one area. And when we created this new field where we extracted new features, that can be actually brought up to the top of this function. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to take this code, all of this, and simply create a function of it with it as it is. Okay. And just as a reminder, remember we made a change to the date format, and that's something I'll have to probably update for another video. But we did change the date format so that it can infer the date, which is important here. Together all of our data cleaning steps together on one notepad. We're going to take it, copy it, and go into our folder and say, hey, we want to create a new Python 3 notebook with all the cleaning steps, just like this. I'm going to create a function, def, let's call it clean Airbnb data with a df in because we want to put in a data frame. Take all of these, copy all the steps or highlight all the steps and tab so it's in the right level. So here we tabbed it over and we are going to finish with returning the data frame. So return df. We're almost finished. We need to import the libraries that were required to complete these steps. So import pandas as PD, import numpy as MP, import re for those regular expressions. These are important. So you want to make sure that you have load required libraries or required packages. And here's our function. In the function too, our function, some sort of information about the function. So we can have our doc string with 3 quotes. and we can put in it, hey, function, this function cleans Airbnb data from inside Airbnb. And I should actually say this function cleans Airbnb listings data from inside Airbnb, and create I'd have a URL for it. So I'll come back and say, hey, go here. So this is our doc string. Inside the doc string, you can tell a lot more. I could have created functions for each one, as I mentioned before, for dropping columns. You can pull the columns out that you want to have. So for example, just as a quick example, we're not going to keep it, but I want you to just see it, that you can say, hey, def, drop columns, and you could put in your data frame, and and then the function for what you want to drop. So like for say df is equal to df dot whatever you're dropping. So this really could just be all of this code here. Hey, def this, and then we can all put it all together as one. But I wanted to keep it simple. So here, this is very simple. It's approachable. You can work with it and get started with it right away. So this is that piece of it. Also, just remember to include your loaded packages, as I said before, because we need pandas for PD here for daytime format. We needed re for our regular expressions that we have here for our read.compile, and also numpy for our np.where. So definitely include those. But now that we have it, we're almost ready to get started. We need to rename it. We can call this module clean Airbnb module prep. B module prep. Okay, so that's the name of our Jupyter notebook with what we want to have for our data cleaning module. And so now that we have this in, one thing that's important to note is that if you're working in Jupyter Notebook, you have to download this as a Python file. If you're in Visual Studio Code, it's more seamless. It's much easier. You don't have to do all this. But since I started with the Jupyter Notebook, let's go ahead and do it in Jupyter. And so here we're going to download this as a Python file. This is our downloaded file. And now that we have this file, it's clean Airbnb underscore module prep. We want to upload that file. So here we're in our Airbnb folder. That's extremely important. It all has to be in the same folder. So you want to go and upload. So here, upload the file, clean Airbnb prep. We upload it. Make sure you take a look at it to make sure it's in the correct format. We have all of these things here. We made a change to the date time. So make sure that it says infer date time format is equal to true, so that we can use it on inside Airbnb's data sets that aren't just in Albany, New York. They may be in different places, and the data types were a little different, is what I noticed before. So different things like that. So now it looks pretty good. You may notice that this is off. These are kind of a little bit over the line, but it's not going to impair the calling of the module. You can go in and tweak it if you want, but I'm going to leave it as is. And now that we have it, let's create us a test data cleaning. Now, before I had this original data cleaning where we had Albany, New York data. I wanted to read in this same file so we can look at what it looks like before cleaning and how it looks after we automatically clean by calling in our module. So here we're here in Airbnb. Create us a new Python 3 notebook. Call it automated data cleaning. Here, call all Airbnb data cleaning test. That's what we're going to call it. We'll load our libraries, load libraries or packages. Okay, and so here, today I only need pandas for loading this data set. df equals pd.read. We load it. We can get a sample of what the data frame looks like here. This is where with license is still in it. Here, remember, license and neighborhood group were the first things that we removed. We can take a look at what information is there before we do the data cleaning steps. 391, total of 18 columns, 391 rows. The things that we did for data cleaning was we converted the data types for ID and host ID so that they are in the correct data format, that they're not numeric, because ID should not be numeric. There should be more in a string format. So we did that change. Remember, we removed neighborhood group, which was 100% missing. We did the same for license. So now what we want to do is also call in our module. So to call in our data cleaning module, what we do is we say from the name of the module. In our case, our module is called Clean Airbnb Module Prep. So this is our module, Clean Airbnb Module Prep. Right. This was our okay. And we need to import the name of the function. And so our clean Airbnb data is the name of our function. Okay, that's the name of our function. Okay. So we read now that we have this Airbnb data, what we need to do is call this. We're going to call this df Albany clean. It's equal to the name of our module, and we import the data frame. Now we look at df underscore Albany underscore clean, and we take information on it. We have 22 columns. We had 18 before it was clean, 22 now that it's been cleaned. Remember, ID was in a float format when it should have been in an object format, and so was host ID. That was cleaned. Also, last review was in date time format. Here, last review was in object format. And we had license removed, and we also removed neighborhood group. And so those are not here. We also included new fields like number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and generated a half-star rating column. So this is what the data cleaning looks like here. Now, if we go back to inside Airbnb and go to the Amsterdam data set and go to listings, I downloaded this data set before. And so this listings data set, it's located here on my computer in the listings field. And so it's in this folder. It's in my downloads. So I'm going to create this. And it's called listings 2. And what you see me do here, what you saw me do was go from backslash to forward slash. We're going to do this so we don't get any UTF errors. You can get around those, but it's just easier to convert your path to, this is a .csv file, to convert your path instead of having to add any additional elements. So let's read in this Amsterdam data. We go to our automated Airbnb data cleaning test, and we go df underscore Amsterdam. Let's call it Amsterdam raw or dirty. Let's call it dirty. Okay. All right. And so we've got DF Amsterdam dirty. We're going to take a sample of that. It has the same fields that we saw in Albany. I did notice that the license field was not empty, as we did see in the Albany, New York one. But I'm going to drop that column anyway. It has a last review date. And this is why we had to make the change, because if you notice, look at the last review date here. In this format, it looks like that. If you take a look at the original last review date in the Albany, New York data set, look at the data format. And this is why we had to change our data format to just infer as opposed to specifying what the format actually is. So that was important to note. Also, now that we have it here, let's go ahead and call our cleaning module. Let's automate the cleaning of this new data set using clean Airbnb data. And we're going to call this thing DF Amsterdam clean. So we're going to put this in. DF Amsterdam dirty is going to go inside of this space. We're going to call it now clean instead of dirty. Okay. We run it, we clean it up. That was it. The cleaning is done. Just that one line. Okay, now it's all clean. So all the steps that we did before, you can save those steps in this module, and you don't have to repeat it. You can go in and make changes here and there as needed, but it's so much more streamlined and fast once you have done your cleaning one time. You don't have to keep redoing it, and that's the beauty and power of having modules. And so here, let's take a look at it. Look at our info. And as before, we have the 22 columns. ID was corrected for the data type. Host ID is also corrected for data types. Last review was also corrected. It's in datetime format. And we also noticed that license was removed, neighborhood group was removed, and that our new columns for number of bedrooms, baths, beds, shared baths, number of stars, half star rating, those are all included here. So yeah, and also this is interesting to note, this data frame has 8,000, almost close to 9,000 records in it. So that's very interesting. So it makes for interesting analyses. So yeah, that's it. We've completed our modularization of our code. Things to remember is that it makes reusability. It's important for reusability that you make sure that you take your module and that it is in a Python format and that everything is in the same folder. You can put the module in your the path of your Python in your Python path. If that, I would just say, hey, keep everything in the same folder. It's easier that way. But yeah, and so that's it. That is it. All right, so thank you for joining for this session on automating data cleaning using modules in Python for Airbnb data. I hope that you like it. If you do, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and until next time, be well.